Hello everyone, welcome. I hope you all are fit and fine. My name is Om Narayan and I welcome you all to my channel English with Om Sir. Today I am going to explain a very interesting poem, The Cold Within by James Patrick Kinney. James Patrick Kinney was an Irish-American poet and this poem was written by him in 1960 when in America African civil rights movements was prevalent. This poem illustrates human folly of discrimination. This poem has very interesting rhyming scheme as it is written in a very simple form. A, B, C, B is the rhyming scheme. There are 8 quatrains in this poem. Now this poem is a parable. You must have heard what parable is. Many students confuse fables with parables. I want to tell you, fables employ animals, plants, inanimate objects or a force of nature as character, while parables are having human characters. What is parable? Parable is a story or a poem, means you can say a prose or a verse that explains a story. So in this poem also there is an interesting story, and by that story in this poem the poet wants to show that how human folly of apathy, bloodlessness, emotionlessness can harm the humanity. So the lack of humanity, discrimination, casteism and many other forms of human folly has been explained in this poem. Now I am going to start this poem. I will read the stanzas of the poem as well and then I will explain. This is line by line explanation of the poem. So, The Cold Within by James Patrick Kinney. 6 humans trapped by happenstance in bleak and bitter cold, each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the story is told. Their dying fire in need of logs, but the first man held his back, for the faces round the fire he noticed one was black. Now I am explaining the first stanza. The poet says that he had heard a story earlier, that in fact he is writing in this poem, because the last line of the first stanza is, or so the story is told. Means he has already heard this parable, the poet has heard this parable and he has decided to write this as a poem for everyone. So he says, by chance it was an accident that 6 humans got trapped somewhere. And the place was bleak, the place was cold, empty and a very grey place. It was bleak. Apart from that, there was darkness around and it was bitter cold. Means chilly winter it was. And it was bitter cold outside. So the poet uses this word bleak and bitter, means dark and bitter, which refers to something bad is to happen. Means the plot is set that something bad is to happen. Now 6 people are sitting around the fire. Okay, there is a fireplace and they all are sitting around the fireplace. Why the word humans has been used here? The poet wanted to present an irony. Now how it is irony, that you will come to know at the end of this poem. Right now I am not going to reveal it, just keep watching the video. Watch the full video so that you can understand it well. By the way, in this moment I want to tell you that these 6 people, 6 persons were sitting around the fire and the place was cold, it was grey and it was dark also all around. and thus the story is continued. The poet says that the fire was dying. It needed logs. The fire was about to get extinguished. It was dying out. It needed logs. Now all those 6 people had sticks in their hand. They, in the second last line of the first stanza, you can see each one possessed a stick of wood. Means all of them had a stick of wood. And since the fire was dying, so they could put their sticks in fire, and in this way they could have warmth. Okay, so let us continue this. So the fire was dying, fire needed logs, fire needed sticks, fire needed wood. But the first man who was sitting there, he saw a black man. Now, as I told you, this poem was written during African American civil rights movements, where African were treated in a very bad way. They were treated like downtrodden, they were treated like slaves, while white men possessed the resources, power and authority. So here the white man saw a black man there. This is racism. He saw a black man and he decided not to put that stick into the fire. So I repeat the stanza, their dying fire in need of logs, but the first man held his back. The first man held his stick back. He could put that stick into the fire to save the fire from dying out, as well himself from dying. But he did not put that stick into the fire because there was a black man. He did not want a black man. What hatred he had in his heart, we can notice it. He was malicious. He was full of hatred. So he did not put that stick into the fire. Because around all those faces, 6 faces, there was a black man. Now I read the next stanza. The next man looking across the way saw one not of his church, and couldn't bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. The third one sat in tattered clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. Why should his log be put to use to warm the idle rich? In the third stanza, the poet explains about the discrimination based on religious beliefs. It is bigotry. The people who are of different churches, they don't like each other. The 2 kind of people are here in this third stanza. One who believes in Catholic Church, and another is the representative of Protestants. Now let me tell you what happens when the second man gets the chance to put his stick into the fire. He looked across, he saw all those people sitting around the fire, but he noticed one man. He had no problem with the other 4 people. You know, I told you that there were 6 people. The first man, who was the white man, didn't put his stick into the fire because he saw a black man. Now second man, who had a golden chance to serve the humanity, and in serving the humanity he could save his life also. But he noticed that there was a man who was of another church. People nowadays become so religiously fanatic that they don't think that in harming one person, they are harming many others, and they harm themselves also. So this is happening here also. The next man saw, the second man in fact, that there was a man who was of another church, and he didn't put that stick into the fire. Birch rhymes nicely with church, and it is a tree found in northern hemisphere. And now the third man, he also got the chance. God gives all of us a chance to do good, and a good deed always comes around. But here, no one tried to do a little good. No one tried to show his sympathy and generosity. There was a third man who was also sitting among those 6 people. He was a poor man because his clothes were tattered, torn, and old clothes he was wearing. Perhaps he needed the warmth more than anybody else there, because he gave his coat a hitch. He tried to bring his coat closer together. Okay? He pulled his coat with a sudden jerk. He wanted to make himself warm. But at the same time, he has hatred in his heart for the rich man. He observed there was a rich man sitting among them, and he believed that rich men are lazy ones. They only force the poor people to work, and they savor the fruits of their labor. Means poor people's labor. They don't do anything themselves, so they are idle. So that poor man had the hatred for the rich man in his heart. And since he had that hatred, so he believed that his logs should not be put into use, which would be beneficial for the rich man also, which would be in use of the rich man. He didn't try to do that. He didn't want to warm that rich man with his own wood. Now I proceed towards the next stanza. The rich man just sat back and thought of the wealth he had in store and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. And the black man's face bespoke revenge. As the fire passed from his sight, for all he saw in his stick of wood was the chance to spite the white. You can notice a very interesting alliteration in this last line of 6th stanza. Spite the white. Spite the white. How nicely it sounds. That is alliteration. You can see here I have defined alliteration. Now in 5th stanza we find a rich man. The same rich man who was not helped by the poor man. That rich man started thinking to add that stick to his store. He thought that his wealth should not be used by the poor man. So he also sat back. He did not move. The moment he had to help the people there, he was thinking to store his wealth. It is said that if you don't use your wealth, your money in others' welfare, at last it is doomed. It destroys, it vanishes. I want to tell you all that whenever, wherever we get chance to help people around us, we should do it. Okay? But that rich man wanted to increase the wealth of his store. That's why he did not put his stick into the fire. He thought that he should keep it from the poor man. He believed that the poor man was lazy, unmotivated, and the poor man was incompetent. That incompetent poor man should not be helped, supported by him. The rich man believed that. And that's why he did not put that stick into the fire. And eventually, in harming that poor man, he harmed many others along with him. In 6th stanza, we notice the black man who was already downtrodden, who was ill-treated. He believed that now he had got a chance to take revenge. a very nice word has been used in the last line of this 6th stanza, was the chance to spite the white. Spite means to treat someone maliciously, means to hate, to offend. That black man who had always been ill-treated by the white man had got the chance to offend that white man now. This was his chance to take a revenge from him. So he decided that since he had never been helped by the white people, he had been always treated like slaves, by white people. That is why he did not put his stick into the fire. The first line I want to explain: the black man's face bespoke revenge. His face itself represented revenge. He wanted that revenge to be taken, and he did so. He took the revenge. He avenged upon that white man as he did not put his stick into the fire. The last 2 stanzas are very important. Especially in second last stanza, the poet expresses about the hopelessness of these 6 people. The 6 people who by accident, by chance, were in same adverse situation. They were in dark, bitter cold outside. The fire was about to die, and they were also about to die because of that. Because it was bitter cold, unbearable cold outside, severe cold outside. If they supported each other, they could save themselves. But they didn't do that. They didn't show humanity. They didn't show human generosity. At first, I want to read these 2 stanzas. Let us continue. The last man of the forlorn group did not accept for gain. Giving only to those who gave was how he played the game. Their locks held tight in death's still hands was proof of human sin. They did not die from the cold without. They died from the cold within. They did not die from the cold without. They died from the cold within. Dear viewers, now the last man of this forlorn group had the chance to save everyone as well as himself. But he also did not do anything, because he saw no one was doing anything. And if no one was doing anything, why should he? What was his belief? His belief was to help those people only who helped him. And since nobody helped him that moment, he was not to help anyone. That's why he does not put his log, his stick into the fire. The last man. Now the poet reveals that these people were hopeless. That's why he uses the phrase forlorn group. So that last man also did nothing. Not, N-O-U-G-S-T, means nothing. This is archaic word. So the last man did not do anything because he believed that he was there, means he had got his life only to gain from the world, from everyone. His life was not to lose. So while he was thinking of gaining, in fact he was losing everything. But he did not understand that. So he believed that if he was helped by someone, then he could help that person only. So he believed in giving that person who gave him earlier. And this was the way he played the game. Played the game refers to the way of living. This was how he lived his life. The last stanza is the conclusion. The conclusion of the story, the parable which is illustrated in this poem. What is that? All those people kept holding their sticks in their hand. They did not put those sticks into the fire, so the fire died out. And ultimately, they also died. Now the poet says that they did not die because of the cold outside. They died because of the cold inside. They had the cold inside, the cold within they had. That's why the title is there, The Cold Within. The title testifies this poem. Now let me tell you that death has been personified in a very interesting way. The death's still hands refers to their motionlessness. Motionlessness caused by their cold heart, emotionless heart, bloodless heart. I want to repeat it, bloodless heart. So, all what happened was the proof of human sin. The people there were the live example. They died later, but they were the live example of human folly, sin. The sin which is born because of discrimination, bigotry, racism. Now the poet concludes by saying that they did not die because of the cold outside, but they died because of the cold within. Dear ones, now this cold within refers to the lack of sympathy, lack of generosity. If they had emotion, love for fellow humans, they would have saved others as well as themselves also. If they had come together to fight with that adverse situation, if they had put their sticks into the fire, they would not die as they died. So they had no warmth in their heart. They were seeking warmth outside, but they could get that warmth outside if only they had warmth in their heart. Warmth of love. That warmth of love, emotion, feelings for other. They were completely feelingless, because somewhere they were forced by their human follies not to show their generosity, love, kindness, sympathy to others. I hope you have understood this poem. Please like and subscribe my channel. If you like my explanation, I will keep uploading more videos. I will cover the syllabus of ICSE 10th as well as CBSE 12th standard. I will make videos on your request. So you can put in comments what videos you want, what poems or the stories you want to be explained. Thank you for watching. See you in next video. Till then, have fun, stay happy, healthy, and stay safe.